All right, everyone, welcome to this Minnesota cryptocurrency event. We are having it with the Stratis team, which we're very pleased was able to sponsor the meeting today. I'm going to hand it straight off to one of the Stratis representatives that's here with us in person to talk a little bit about some of the background behind this meeting. Of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you ask questions. I have a screen here. I'll be sure to get to them while we have time. But again, thanks to the Stratis team. Let's get it started off right away. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having us out here, and thanks for coming to learn more about the Stratis platform. So a little bit about myself. In the Stratis community, I go by Pharaoh, like Egyptian Pharaoh. And on the phone with us, coming out of London, we have Paul Farrington, who's a developer at the Stratis platform, as well as Chris Trew, the CEO and founder of Stratis. And so they'll be coming on in a little bit to talk more about the platform and also take your questions as well from here at the university and on the subreddit in YouTube. So a little bit about myself. I've been part of the Stratis project from a community member / contributor perspective since close to its inception, about a little over 2 years ago. And funny thing is that Stratis will be 3 years old technically in August, which is like 50 years in cryptocurrency. So we're really proud of our staying power here, because the average lifespan of most of these projects is about a year and a half. And welcome. Yes, indeed it is, sir. Yeah, you're good. Don't worry. So yeah, we're quite proud of our staying power. The fact that regardless of what the market's presenting at us, we still, chug along and achieve our milestones and continue to develop the platform. So a little bit about our community. We like to give a good spotlight on our community because they've been a huge sort of facet to the platform itself. Our biggest support is our community itself. They contribute in so many ways. We have community developers that are actually started out as just people pushing code to the GitHub for small bugs or enhancements, and then eventually ended up working up to being full-time members at the Stratis platform as well. We also have community members who moderate different chat forums, right? So Discord, Reddit, and Telegram as well. And also, we also have contributors in the form of article writers, right? So there are some publication forums that do actually compensate for articles about different cryptocurrency projects. So we have contributors in the form of that as well. And tech support, right? So if you guys have any problems with the wallets, you can pop into our Discord, and more times than not, there's someone to help you out. And it's actually a Stratis member. It's actually a community member and not a Stratis team member. So we have a really supportive community out there. They deserve all the credit in the world, and we invite you guys to check it out ourselves. We've got our Stratis platform subreddit, as I said earlier, Discord, Telegram, Facebook. So please, feel free to follow us over there. And so, onwards, we ran a giveaway starting at the beginning of the week, right? I think it was Monday or Tuesday. Right. So Omer published a tutorial on how you can participate. And the rules are actually simple. You go to our official Stratis website, download our official Stratis Core website, Stratis Core wallet. And I say official twice. Don't go to Google and type Stratis wallet, or for any other cryptocurrency, don't type in crypto wallet and download the first sponsored link. It's mostly a scam here. And that's, I kind of have to make that assumption because a lot of people here may have their first interactions with cryptocurrency here. So I don't want you guys, downloading malware just because it's a sponsored link on Google, right? So I thought I should mention that first. So go to the Stratis website, download the wallet, let it sync, or let it sync with the blockchain, download blocks. When it's 100% synced, you'll see in the bottom right corner, it'll say 100% in green. and then you send over the proof that you've synced the wallet as well as your receiving address to the folks at Minnesota Cryptocurrency. And we have different tiers of Stratis prizes available for you guys to participate. We ran this giveaway this way for a couple of reasons, right? So one of them kind of comes from my personal experience talking to people outside of cryptocurrency about how to manage their own funds, right? So when I talk about sending your own tokens or coins to your own wallet, I sort of lose people, right? Just average talk at work or out in the real world. So we really wanted to just show you guys how simple it is to download a wallet, in this case, the Stratis Core wallet, sync it, send and receive funds from there, right? It's not as hard as what people make it out to be, or there's not really a high learning curve with that, right? Anyone can do it. And the second reason has to be with security, right? So just out of curiosity, how many people here actually hold cryptocurrency today? How many of you guys keep them on exchanges? Wrong. What? Yeah. Okay. So for the people who are unaware, it's kind of like the commandments of cryptocurrency to not keep your coins on exchanges, right? So it's the saying goes, not your keys, not your Bitcoin, not your keys, not your tokens, whatever you may have heard being in the space long enough, right? And that's for a reason, guys. When you send your funds to an exchange, technically speaking, that's not yours, right? They control the security mechanism, the keys, the private keys to that wallet to be able to send and receive from that wallet, right? So just because it's, you've got 100 Strat in your account on whatever exchange, Binance or Bittrex, under your account, does not mean it's exactly yours, all right? You are sending it to their wallet. And no matter if you have two-factor authentication on your email or your exchange account, you kind of have to trust the exchange that they're securing their end as well. And we've seen enough examples in the past couple of years to know that that's not the case, right? So, it's something I kind of want to beat on hard here for people who may be interacting with cryptocurrencies for the first time, right? I want to make it a habit for you guys to, as soon as you get a hold of your cryptocurrency, send it to a wallet, right? In this case, for Stratis, send it to your Stratis Core wallet, right? I don't think that point could be proven enough, because we just had, recently, the one that comes to my mind, Cryptopia, an exchange that just got hacked. And, it's not a small exchange, right? So just because they handle hundreds of millions of dollars of volume a day between trades doesn't mean they're all that safe, guys. So, especially in an academic setting, I really want to, I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but I really want to make that a point for you guys to build a habit of that. And the last reason why we ran this giveaway the way that we did is because we want you guys to interface with our technology in person, right? Like, we want you to see what we've been developing for the past couple of years, right? It may appear as a wallet, but behind that wallet is a full node, which Paul will go over a little bit later. It's the culmination of over 2 years of development, thousands of hours of C# blockchain development, and we're extremely proud of that, and we want to show it off, and we want you guys to get it in your hands to see for yourself, right? The first 2 years of Stratis, like I said, I've been with Stratis for over 2 years, right? And, I'd say the first 2 years was really to lay down the foundation, right? Start to build out the code base, get it to a stable level so that we can push it to the masses. And we're kind of nearing that phase now, and we're extremely excited, right? A lot of old timers who have been in the project even longer than me, this is where we really start to pay attention and get excited for seeing the technology in real world use. And I'm sure Chris, as well as the fine folks at Stratis, say the same thing, right? So, you know, we encourage you to join us on this journey and uh, check us out everywhere, right? So, um, yeah. So, okay, yeah, I'll take a step back. So the giveaway itself. So we have a grand prize winner of 100 strat, second place 50 strat, and then we have um, 5 10 strat winners. Excuse me. So that'll be running for another week or so. Now, Omer's provided a tutorial for you guys to walk you step by step on how to do it. And, you know, we really want you guys to see what we made. So go on and feel free to check it out. But I'll hand it off to Paul, who's going to be giving you sort of an overview of the Stratis platform. And then we'll hand it off to Chris, who are going to take questions from you guys. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Pharaoh. I love these crazy names as well in crypto. It's what I'll do is I'll try and simulcast my presentation. I'm just going to share the screen now. So let's see if we can get this working properly. All right, can you see a PowerPoint? I'm going to move this back to the splash screen actually.
Yeah. Oh.
So actually this is, you see the, yeah, right, we're on the blue screen.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. This is the starting screen. So, thank you, Pharaoh, and welcome, Minnesota, to a presentation by the Stratis organization, the Stratis platform here in London, where I'm very happy to work as a developer. What I want to do is to give you a little bit of a rundown on Stratis itself, Stratis the company. I then want to move on to an outline of blockchain technology. And I'm aware, I can tell in the room that there are people here who have cryptocurrency, so they must be somewhere up the blockchain learning curve. However, for others of you, it might be useful to kind of go back from first principles and to run through this again. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about specific technology, including the full node. And finally, I can maybe point you in the direction of some of the learning resources that we have at Stratis as well. So the Stratis Group is a UK-based, a London-based organization, and it's our main product is not so much a product, but a platform onto which you can build blockchains. We're focused on the enterprise. We're an enterprise blockchain company, so we target the commercial sector. We target large companies. We target corporates, and so on. And our main offering is significantly it's based not on proprietary platforms, but on a Microsoft standard platform. It's based on the .NET framework, which was a conscious choice that was made at the beginning of the project, because it is industry standard, and it gives you an ability to inherit all of the ability performance that you get out of the box with Microsoft's own tools. And the same is true of the language that we to contrast it. For instance, Ethereum uses Solidity, but we use Microsoft C#. And we deploy our technology into the cloud, something obviously the cloud is well known as a concept. We target we deploy into the Microsoft Azure framework. For those of you who are more tenuous on the concept of blockchain, expand that again. One interesting way of thinking about it, this is the way that I tend to think about blockchain and blockchain innovation is it's a coming together of three different disciplines. You have technology, and by that I mean not even internet technology, but peer-to-peer technology. So, for instance, if you have ever torrented something, you've been using a peer-to-peer networking technology that is under the hood exactly the same as that we used for our tech. There's game theory, which is a type of mathematics that deals with the theories of how we come into conflict with each other and why we choose to cooperate. And you've got economics as well, which is the study of scale. And all of these things came together to produce blockchain in a kind of an accidental way. And one of the great things about blockchain is the story behind it and how it was invented. This rather enigmatic, mysterious character called Satoshi Nakamoto, who solved the problem that people had been trying to solve for many, many years, and that was how to create internet cash, how to create a peer-to-peer cash solution that could be run on the internet. You wouldn't need a central authority to govern over it. And Satoshi's breakthrough was blockchain. And by creating and understanding the relationship of those three things in the prior slide, the economic incentives, the peer-to-peer technology, and the game theory, he managed to solve this problem that we call trust problem. And it turns out that by creating decentralized money that you didn't need a central bank to guarantee or arbitrate over in any way, it's not a trust problem that enabled us to do a whole bunch of other stuff. And it turns out trust is kind of a big deal, and it's the reason that we need the intermediaries we do. When you think about the parties that we trust, when you think about whether they're state actors like governments or they're big financial institutions like banks or huge internet conglomerates like Amazon and eBay, we choose to use these third parties not because we like doing so, because we mistrust each other. But the problem is we can't go around and evaluate each separate trust relationship between individuals because it's simply too costly and unreliable. So we have this complement to parties, but we pay a price for that. The price can be cost, because the parties cost upon us, speed, and it could also be things like bad acting or moral hazard. I've got the case of fraud here. You trust your bank; the bank's pretty trustworthy, we think, but it's not guaranteed. If you could remove those active intermediate, then you can change the nature and you can reduce the cost of the relationships.
Paul, sorry to interrupt. Would you mind talking a little bit more clearly into the microphone, please? It's sometimes a little hard to hear you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm talking through a wireless mic. The visuals are okay that you can hear.
Thanks, it's much better.
Okay. So the strapline on this slide is blockchain eliminates the need to trust third parties, and that's kind of the crux of the issue. Satoshi invented this. Bitcoin was the first type of blockchain, and by doing so, we find ourselves with a technology with a whole myriad of applications. Now, I don't know how the room is carved up with people who have experience with computer science and people who are in different disciplines, but conceptually, it's possible to look at this diagram and these three different panels and sort of understand what's going on. On the left-hand side, you've got clearly a central authority that is arbitrating and is allowing communication between the nodes on the terminal point. And this is we would have referred to when we were talking about mainframe type computing in the 1960s. This is what the world looked like, certainly in an IT sense. And then we moved to this decentralized model. And this is what the modern internet is, effectively. It's not fully distributed, but it has various large nodes, large points where individuals connect to, and then it kind of it arbitrages or communicates between other large nodes. So it's as the graphic says, it's based on hubs. And then you have a fully distributed system. And the key about this, and obviously you know where I'm going with this, I'm going to tell you that blockchain is this model. But if you think of removing one of those nodes, then even if you remove the node, any one of those nodes, you can communicate by going through a different route. And it means that you don't have these single points of failure. The terms themselves, distributed ledger, blockchain, are kind of they're intermingled and in many cases misused. And the way that I understand it is to think of a distributed ledger as a sort of an abstract concept, and that blockchain as an implementation of a DLT. Now, it's worth asking with any kind of transformative technology, asking probing questions and difficult questions. And why is it that we need to persist with blockchain? Why can't we just use a traditional computer or a mainframe or Amazon Web Services or some kind of other model? And there are reasons why blockchain is superior in some use cases. The first obvious one is this central point of failure. If we can remove a central point, then we can remove the possibility that we can be defrauded, or that central point will experience a sort of a downtime or a lack of service. Immutability speaks to the characteristic that blockchains have, whereby when something is saved to a blockchain, it can be superseded or succeeded by other information, but that original information can't be removed. What that means is it's tamper-proof in the respect that people can't come in and simply overwrite or reverse transactions or say that something you thought you owned you no longer own, and they also can't cover up and remove information about their own wrongdoing. So immutability is a really powerful concept. And cryptographic security. Cryptographic ciphers, codes, encryption and decryption. That's really important to blockchains. Because firstly, it guarantees your ownership of digital assets. If you have the private key, and we just talked about having the keys, individual digital assets or cryptocurrencies stored on an exchange rather than on your cold wallet, it means that you don't have access to those individual keys. So cryptographic security guarantees ownership, and it's an ownership that we should physically have ourselves. It's also used in the evolution of the blockchain itself, such that every block has a cryptographic guarantee of its own provenance, where it came from, and the blocks that precede it. So if you put all of these things together, you come up with a system Satoshi created 2008 when he published peer-to-peer digital cash and spawned the whole blockchain and cryptocurrency revolution. And it's summed up by this strapline that says that the trust that we had in third parties can now be replaced due to economic incentives, which I'll explain shortly in the context of mining, and cryptographic guarantees, which are mathematical guarantees of truth that enable us to look at a blockchain and know that it's in a consistent state. There's been an evolution of blockchains technologically in the time since they were first germinated in 2008, 2009. Satoshi's original vision of Bitcoin is a relatively simple blockchain. All that it is a shared ledger where the transactions and information represent ownership and transfer of digital money, in that case, Bitcoin. About 5 years later, there was another development, a large, important development, whereby blockchain became capable of executing things we call smart contracts. And in that respect, we moved from just a straight accounting type system to a system where blockchain was now running pieces of code and individual nodes or constituent participants in the blockchain network were functioning like separate individual computers. And that meant that blockchain, it meant in effect that money became not just money anymore, it became programmable money. With blockchain 3.0, we're getting to the point now where we have to solve problems of security. And what I mean by that is there are some cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is an example of one. People think of it as anonymous, but it's not really anonymous. It's what we call pseudonymous, meaning there are still ways of tracing back and identifying who did what. So blockchain 3.0 is partly about security, coming up with different cryptographic innovations that will allow people to interact using currencies and using blockchain in a secure and anonymous way. And perhaps even more important, it's about scaling. That means running stuff fast, a lot of it. Blockchains themselves don't really compete, and it's unfair to compare them to conventional computing because they run orders of magnitude slower than conventional computing. If we were to try and put Facebook on a blockchain, we'd have to support something like 250,000 transactions. So what blockchain 3.0 is doing is and this is something we're working on at Stratis, is that we've got scaling solutions that allow us to scale out in a horizontal way so that we can produce faster and faster transaction throughput. What we're going to do is that's going to allow us to enable a whole bunch of use cases, particularly in the area of digital money, money transfer. So third generation DLT or blockchain is about security, it's about scale and speed, and it's about taking network infrastructure and deploying that in a cloud environment. It's worth a quick comparison between Bitcoin and Strat. Strat being the actual token that we use at Stratis. We're an enterprise blockchain company. We have a software framework, but we also have a public blockchain, and we also have a token that's publicly traded. And you can see the metrics on the left-hand side. We've got a fixed supply, and we've got block time that is about 10x what BTC is. What that means that individual miners, when they create blocks and they amalgamate whole bunches of transactions, and they get compensated and rewarded for creating those blocks, those happen at a rate of about 10 minutes for Bitcoin and about 1 minute for Strat. And what I would encourage you to do is if you simply Google Stratis Block Explorer, you can see how every minute there's a new block that's being minted. You can see the individual transactions inside it. The implication of that is pretty clear when you look at the subsequent line for approximate blocks per day. You can see it's 10 times more, and it's as a result of that block time being 10 times smaller. Well, it speaks about the technical architecture that we have at Stratis. The bottom two rows of that diagram show that we're sitting on that bedrock of Microsoft technology. We've got a cloud platform for our deployment that is an enterprise grade Microsoft solution. And then on the top, and this is interesting, not just because it's .NET, which means that the code that we write runs in a managed execution environment, but .NET Core means that we can deploy this onto Linux, we can deploy it onto a Mac. We don't just have to run it on a Microsoft desktop. And then as you move up, you get 2 layers of Stratis itself. The core node itself, the full node, I think Pharaoh mentioned, and then the applications, the apps, which smart contract code, miners that are responsible for creating the chain, approving and validating transactions, and so forth, and the wallet software, which deals with digital currency and maintaining and managing private keys, uh, such that we manage our money in a resilient way. So this is basically the stack, and it's the main point here is that we sit on Microsoft technology, and it means that we write in a language that is pretty popular and has a very large amount of development expertise, and we run this in a managed code framework, which is a great deal safer from a code safety point of view. People might have heard of smart contracts. We spoke about them in the second generation evolution of blockchain, and they are just as simple as that. They are tiny pieces of C# code that are depicted by this little diagram. You can see there's some money there, and there's a padlock on it. All the smart contract does is it locks up that money, and when the terms of the legal contract are met, when the nominally, if you like, the microphone, the little magnifying glass looks at the smart contract and said, are the terms of the contract met? At that point, the money can be unlocked. It's a very, very simple concept, but it brings about a general capability that brings out a lot of specific functionality. It means that we have a blockchain that we can program like a computer, and the implications of that are huge. Sidechains, for those people who don't come from a computer science background, it's a kind of abstract concept to understand, but it's effectively the way I like to think of it. When you create a sidechain, you're taking the scaling challenges that we have, the challenges that we face of trying to increase our transaction throughput, process more information and process it fast. I make an analogy of a highway where you have one lane and all the traffic's going down the one lane. So that's obviously, you have traffic jams, the traffic is going slowly, the merging is a problem, you have a huge amount of congestion. And the analogy when you create sidechains is you create a multi-lane highway. You have all of the traffic going in parallel, and this is the way that conventional IT and companies like Facebook and companies like Amazon that deal with huge engineering challenges to create really responsive software, they kind of scale out horizontally in this multi-lane model. And this is what we're doing with our own sidechain technology at Stratis. Now, I want to point you. We're wrapping up, but I want to point you in the direction of the Stratis Academy, because it's one of the things about learning about blockchain. The only way of really learning quickly, getting up the learning curve, is to jump in and get yourself involved with projects. What we have in Stratis is a resource whereby if you go to this place, read the documentation and look at the tutorials, it's going to give you a learning path such that you start running up your own nodes, start running up your own smart contracts, start innovating with those. I think even in the sidechain technology, there's a great deal of information there. So it's worth doing so, because the path to productivity with this particular platform is very, very fast and very, very short, and it's definitely worth doing so. So I would recommend you do that. and just jump on in. A couple of other links, a few other links. GitHub, all of our development takes place in an open source environment. Everything you can see our developers doing is up there on GitHub. We have various public projects. It's worth checking that out. And also, you might check out the Discord because it's full of community members and developers who will be very happy and keen to help you out on your learning journey. So it's a quick rundown of Stratis, our architecture, a little bit of a refresher on the concepts of blockchain and DLT, and perhaps after that might have provoked some questions. I'll bring up the stop sharing.
Perfect. Thank you, Paul. So, Justin, you had some questions prepared for yourself, or you had taken a look at the subreddit and YouTube channel and taken down some questions you wanted to point to Chris?
Yeah, so is it the time now where, Chris, do you have a presentation, or are you here to answer questions for us?
I'm just here to answer questions.
Okay, perfect. So I guess I can start off with the first one then, but we have a lot of people here, so hopefully everyone can ask questions too. So the first one, what proportion of your clients are interested in using Stratis's public blockchain versus consulting with you on developing a private blockchain for themselves to use?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We have two types of potential customers. We have one that are established, mature companies that already have existing revenue streams. And then we have startups or small organizations that are wanting to do crowdfunding on the blockchain to take them to the next level. I would say that the latter are definitely looking at open and public blockchain solutions, but I would say a large majority of the other are looking at DLT and private blockchain solutions. And that literally just comes down to the technical requirements. When we look at the technical requirements, we go for a process of assessment to actually work out which blockchain solution is going to be the best fit for them. And what we've seen is with sort of large enterprise, large customers, the majority of their requirements, only a DLT private blockchain solution would actually fit or be fit for purpose.
Okay, so building off of then, if the majority of your clients are interested in developing or consulting with Stratis for developing a private blockchain for them, does that mean that majority of your focus is on making these private blockchain implementations compared to developing the public Stratis network, or do you develop the public Stratis network for benefits for these private or for use in these private blockchains?
So at this moment in time, all of our paying customers fit into the latter. So they're small startups or small organizations that are wanting to sort of go to the next level. So definitely our share of paying customers falls definitely on that side. But for us as an organization, our number one directive is bringing utility and utility and value to our platform to Strat the token. So our focus is definitely on the public blockchain side of it. The DLT side of the business is just so we don't leave any business on the table, you know?
Okay, and one last one from me. What proportion of the resources from your team is spent on development of the platform compared to implementation of the platform with other companies?
So at this moment in time, it's about 95% just on the platform. And that's just because of the phase that we're in. We've been developing this product for the last 2.5 years, and we're at a stage now where we released the first version of our product, but then we had to go through a whole round of stability fixes and bug fixing. So we just dedicated the majority of our resources to that so we could get that product out, you know?
So in that presentation that we just finished, it was mentioned that you're working on speeding up the blockchain to be able to implement it in other opportunities. Which of those, as you speed it up, which of those opportunities are you most excited to kind of get into and start to explore?
That's a very good question. Definitely the financial services space. One of the technologies that we're working on is called Tumblebit. It does have some privacy benefits to it, but it also has scalability benefits in that it processes transactions off-chain. So you don't have the whole issue of transactions increasing the size of the blockchain. And it also allows you to theoretically be able to scale up to an unlimited amount of transactions per second, with the only limitation being memory and CPU resources available to the system. So definitely in the financial services space, in order for a blockchain solution to meet the majority of their requirements, it requires a huge throughput, and we have to develop this technology in order for us to meet quite a few use cases in that area, you know? Good question.
Okay, so now that the term blockchain has found its way into the business vocabulary, the broader business vocabulary over the course of the last, say, year and a half, the projects that you engage with and maybe companies that approach you, what are they looking, what problems are they trying to solve, or what are they looking towards the blockchain to address versus, you know, how they would normally operate? What are they looking from blockchain? What are they looking to blockchain technology for?
So the number one that we see is removing trust. So if I just give you a very high level example, in London we have over 10 hospitals, and those hospitals all have their either their own database or a shared database between all of those hospitals. In the traditional centralized system, a hacker could hack into that system, change data. It also requires all of the hospitals to trust the other hospitals that the information in that database is valid. A blockchain solution would obviously remove a lot of those issues, one being the trust, improving the security, and that's normally the main sort of the main requirement that we're seeing. But we're also seeing a lot of companies just coming to us wanting to implement the blockchain just because of the buzzword around the blockchain. Either it may appease their shareholders or it may appease their executive board if they manage to slip blockchain in there somewhere. So we sit down with a lot of companies, and when we actually go through their requirements, we're one of these companies that's not actually scared to say, well, actually, maybe you should just be using a centralized database like SQL. You don't need a blockchain solution for this, you know?
Can I do a follow-up? Okay, so you touched on the point of hospitals in the UK. So here in this, I don't know about the regulatory environment in the UK, but let's say here in the United States, we've got HIPAA requirements. So that brings in regulators or the regulatory body. What's been the experience so far in working with a regulatory body and helping them understand blockchain and the security involved?
Yeah, so we're currently working with a company in the medical space, and it's all about stopping the abuse of prescription medications. We have a big problem in the UK in that you can very easily get prescription medication ordered online, but then just go to another online pharmacy and order the same medication. So we're working with a company that's building a blockchain-backed database solution, so all of these pharmacies can all sit on the same database, and before they actually prescribe medication to someone, they'll actually check has that person already been prescribed medication. In the UK, and we have what's called GDPR, which is a Data Protection Act. And one of the main mandates of GDPR is the right for removal, which mandates that if you store data on somebody, they have the right to request that data be removed. You can understand in a public blockchain why that would be a bit difficult, because the data is immutable. We can't actually delete it. So it goes back to to my point of when we actually look at the requirements, the technical requirements, sometimes a public blockchain just doesn't fit those requirements. And that's a perfect instance with GDPR and right for removal. You just can't use a public blockchain for that purpose because there's no way for us actually to be able to purge or remove that individual's data, you know?
Just to kind of follow up on that, using the hospital example, how do you, with a public blockchain, how do you address the problem with privacy and security? Because when you're talking about like a decentralized network, you're obviously talking about having the data available in many different, you know, forms. So how do you address that with public blockchain?
Yeah, I'm going to keep saying this, but it comes back to the requirements. It comes back to the requirements that the company provides us. What we'll see sometimes is their requirements will mandate that the access to the data has to be permissioned. So in a public blockchain, you or I can download a full node, sync with that blockchain, connect to the blockchain and interact with it. We have access to all of the data stored on the blockchain. With those requirements mandated, that obviously wouldn't be fit for purpose because the data needs to be permissioned. And that's why we're seeing the rise of these DLT private blockchain solutions, you know, because they fit those requirements. And I mean, there are some projects working on some things around public blockchains, but it's still a way off, you know.
All right. So when you were creating the coin, what made that different from all the other types of coins that already existed? And how did you market it to have a successful ICO? How did you generate so much buzz around it?
That's a good question. So our ICO wasn't a huge success. We only raised $600,000, which is a tiny amount of money in comparison to what a lot of the other projects raised. I mean, the two big projects either side of our ICO raised 30,000 Bitcoin and 15,000 Bitcoin. We only raised 915. So, I mean, there wasn't a huge amount of buzz around our ICO, but we just, in our minds, we just wanted to raise what we knew we needed for the project. You know, we didn't want to raise any more. And what it allowed us to do is we had to be very, very cautious with our funds in the beginning. So we weren't able to just scale up and hire 100 developers on day two. We had to really grow gradually. And what that allowed us to do is find some really, really good talent. And pretty much everybody that works for Stratis found Stratis. Rather than us actually going out to market and employing people, people would actually come and offer their services and then end up being a full-time employee. So it's allowed us to build a really good core group of really loyal followers, you know.
I was wondering what so Stratis uses C# as one of its languages. What else makes it more attractive as opposed to other blockchains to your clients?
Yeah, so the one major selling point that we're seeing companies very interested in is the fact that we have Stratis consultancy. So we don't just have this this blockchain platform, we actually also have an end-to-end consultancy company. So it's not like with some of the other blockchain solutions where they'll give you a blockchain platform and you've got to either go off and work with a third party or bring up your knowledge yourself in order to implement it. You can actually engage with us and we can come in, do an analysis, do an assessment, do a design and implement your actual blockchain integration, you know? So that's a huge selling point for a lot of companies because 9 times out of 10, a huge company enterprise would actually want to work with the company that developed the platform rather than a third party who's just built their knowledge on said platform, you know? So I'd definitely see that as one of our main selling points. And then just our technology, for instance, we're one of the only projects to do smart contracts in a different way to Ethereum, in the fact that they're written in C# but also executed by the .NET CLR. So we don't actually have our own VM, our own virtual machine like Ethereum and some of those other projects. We actually just execute code on a .NET CLR. And then there's side chains and various other features that make a really compelling offering in the fact that you can come to Stratis and it's all under the one roof. The majority of large enterprise customers already have .NET developers. The majority of their line of business applications that they use for their day-to-day work are .NET applications. Most of them utilize Azure for cloud hosting, so it fits in seamlessly, you know.
Hey, Chris and Paul, thank you both for your time. I just would want to know. I'm curious to know like how the tokenomics of the Strat coin works, and maybe I'd even ask another question that I'm interested in gaining some more detail on. It's your ICO platform. How does that function, and how does the Strat token come into play when it works with that? And furthermore, what's like the tokenomics or the utility behind the Strat token, being that you also, it seems as if you have like two business models. One is the public blockchain where anyone could actually utilize the Strat token and exchange with anyone globally. And then you focus on the private DLT aspect, which I'm assuming or kind of understanding that you guys conduct contracts or businesses in fiat or outside of Strat token. So if you could better explain that, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, so in terms of the DLT side of the business, we charge our customers in fiat at this time. Well, when we have a paying customer, we'll charge them in fiat. And I get asked this question a lot. The long-term Strat holders will ask me, well, if we're doing DLT now, how does that add any utility or any value to Strat the token? And it is a very good question, but my answer is always the same in that we're currently funded by these ICO funds that we raised 2.5 years ago. In order for us to scale up as an organization and hire lots of brilliant minds, hire more developers, hire more security personnel, testers, just to scale up the organization, we need revenue coming in, you know, and the main sort of revenue generator in this blockchain space right now is DLT. So it's the kind of thing of we have to go and attack that side of the market in order to really grow as an organization, you know. In fact, in terms of the token and its utility on the platform, pretty much everything on the Stratis platform requires Strats in order for you to use that feature or functionality. When we're designing a solution, it's always in the back of our mind, how does this add value to the token? How does this bring utility to the tokens? So if I just take a few examples, smart contracts, they require Stratis for you to actually execute those smart contracts. Side chains requires node operators to lock Strats up in order for you to actually operate your side chain. And then moving forward, as we roll out more of our features and functionality, they're all going to require Strats to function. So that's really where the utility comes from, you know.
Thank you again, Chris. And just my final one, could you then again clarify the ICO platform or product that you guys have? I'm interested in knowing more details about that.
Yeah, so we developed our own platform to do our ICO. We developed it in .NET, and it was a huge success. We didn't have any issues that plagued a lot of the ICOs around the time that we did our ICO. So over the next sort of year, we just saw this ICO wave just growing and growing and growing, and we knew that there was business out there that we could capture if we came out with an ICO platform. And there were other ICO platforms like ICO in a Box that were obviously doing very well. So we decided to invest a bit of time in taking this platform, what we developed for our own purposes, and making it ready for the mainstream, you know, and that's exactly what we did. It's normally more secure than most ICO platforms in no funds are ever stored on the server. As soon as somebody invests into the ICO, they go straight off to cold storage. One of the main attack vectors for ICOs is people hack into the server and they get all of the funds on the server. So no funds are actually stored on the server at any time. It's also deployable on Azure, so it's highly scalable. In sort of 2017, 2018, when there was this whole ICO hype, we saw a lot of ICOs actually falling over in the first 5 or 10 minutes just because of the amount of volume of people going to the ICO platform. With our ICO platform, that's actually not possible because it uses Azure scaling. It's actually able to scale up, so it can handle a huge number of users, you know. And then we have various other benefits in. It's also STO ready. So from a technical stance, we can actually support STOs, which I think are going to be the big thing in 2018, 2019, and coming years, you know.
Cool. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Okay, last one for me, and this is more of a general question, not specific to Stratis. So over the course of 2018, one thing I've always appreciated about blockchain and cryptocurrency is, in and of itself, it's borderless. So as a project, are you seeing increasing interest in any parts of the world in blockchain and cryptocurrency more so than others, or any emerging areas?
Yeah, I think certainly. So we're going through a bit of a phase in that there's been the whole hype around crypto, and some would argue that that's sort of died off a little bit now. But what we're seeing is the business adoption of blockchain is on the increase, and it's only just becoming more and more every day, you know. But certainly one of the areas, or sort of one of the regions where I'm seeing a big interest in the blockchain now, is Africa and also other developing nations, because then funny enough, they're actually normally at the forefront of innovation, because there's not so much red tape and it's very easy for them to actually to push things through. They're normally at the cutting edge of innovation, and that's what we're actually seeing. Is a lot of these African nations are actually interested in implementing the blockchain for many different facets of the government, you know.
Okay, we appreciate your time a lot, Paul and Chris. It is about time here, so I'm just going to leave you with one last question. Can you just give an update on the current status of your sidechain and smart contract development, please?
Yeah, so it's going very well, and we will be releasing a roadmap next week, which will actually have a date of when those will be released. In this space, you have to be very careful with giving timelines, because I will be held to it, even though I could be casually giving you a timeline now on this video conference. I will be held to it, you know, so I can't actually give you a time of when it's going to come out, but I would certainly say that it will be under 2 months.
Okay, thank you again, Paul and Chris.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we might have a little bit of time after, but I'm going to formally wrap up the live stream here. Thanks everyone for participating with us today. Thanks for your questions. Hope I was able to answer a lot of them. And we're all waving to the camera. See you all later.